Okay, Mayor, we're ready.
I'd like to call to order August 18, 2025 City Council meeting at 7:02. So I'll rise for pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight, we're all here, but we're going to for Jacob. He's absent. Just to kind of give you a heads up, we've got about a 20-minute delay, technical difficulties. So I'm entertaining a motion to add on discussion of the 50-year plan to the agenda right after the approval of tonight's agenda. Yeah, Councilor Holmes.
Make that motion to continue the discussion of the 50-year plan.
Councilor Holmes make a motion to continue discussion. Any second? Second by Councilor Santiago. Any more discussion? Can if we vote on this? Or actually, all in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, now looking at the amended agenda, I'm looking for a motion to accept. Approve. So, President Miller makes a motion to approve tonight's agenda as amended. Any second? Second by Councilor Holmes. Any more discussion? Being none, all those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so we're right in the middle of, Wes Goodman doing some 50-year plan updates. Then we have about four, I would like to hear quickly as possible, 4 or 5 people that had some questions or issues on that plan. So we'd like to hear from them. And then we'll get into public comment for items that are not on our agenda tonight. So Beth, if you'd like to continue, please go ahead.
I don't have too much more.
Great.
All right, so looking at the study area map, this slide just tells you the same information on the last slide, but it tells you how many acres are in each of the study areas. So if you're questioning that, that's right here. We can refer back to that. So the proposed urban growth boundary expansion areas, we are looking at 4 different areas or 3 different areas, and they're the ones that are shown in blue here. Again, we've got 43 acres that we need. So area 4 is about 7 acres of buildable land. You've got an existing little manufactured home park that's part of area 4, plus some vacant land. And then, are you guys hearing the motor behind my? Let me. Sorry about that. And then we've got about 17 acres in area 7 and 19 acres in area 8. And these were the areas that are in blue that are most likely to meet the identified land needs. They're in areas that are easier for development in terms of infrastructure. And so that's why these were prioritized. They meet the goal 14 criteria best. What we've heard about them is the property owners in sub area 7 suggested that their parcels will be better suited for urban reserves since they don't intend to annex in the city over the next 20 years. And we'll look at that in a moment. And then Robert Kessie requested inclusion of a 23-acre parcel that is adjacent to the UGB right now. We'll look at that in a moment also. So this is sub area 7, the areas that the parcels that were identified for inclusion in the urban growth boundary. This is sub area 8. We haven't had any comments about that. But these landowners expressed their strong preference for inclusion in the urban reserves, not in the UGB. If you elected us, if you chose to do that, if you gave us direction to look for other lands for inclusion in the UGB, I believe that was 17 acres. We would be looking, I would imagine, Laurie, I would imagine parts of area 5 and 8. We haven't really talked about it.
Yeah, we will have to look at that for sure. For sure, more of 8.
Okay. So those are the
Well,
kind
I
of
know you're not looking at all of it.
No, right now, we're looking at a portion of 8, it looks like 19 acres for UGB and the rest of it for urban reserves.
Yes. All right, and so that's sub area 7 and their concerns, the landowners' concerns and preferences. And then from Robert Kessie, this is a roughly drawn little map here. Just south of sub area 4, there's a 23-acre parcel of land that belongs to Mr. Kessie. Part of it is already included in the UGB and part of it is not. This land is high-value farmland, which is the lowest priority for inclusion in the UGB, which is a large part of why it hasn't been considered for inclusion in the UGB. Do you have any questions before I go on?
Just so we're gonna address 7, right? Probably further. Like the issue of the homeowner that would like theirs to be, part of it to be in the reserve.
Yeah, so you do have a public comment that's
Okay.
referencing now, so you might want to hear.
Yeah. So question, okay, I don't have any questions.
So then going on and looking at the urban reserves, the areas that are highlighted in sharper yellow are all the areas that we'd be looking at for urban reserves. And here's the number of acres of land in each of the little areas. So the next time you did an urban growth boundary expansion, you'd be evaluating which of these areas that are now in urban reserves should be brought into the UGB first. And those areas would be the highest priority for bringing into the UGB. So it simplifies this analysis some. And then we had a little additional feedback from a landowner meeting in July. So there were a number of questions about, will inclusion in the UGB or urban reserves increase my property taxes? As we said earlier, the answer is no, not until annexation, and annexation is requested by the landowner. How will inclusion in the UGB or urban reserves change permissible uses or zoning? And you'll continue to be able to do the uses you've got under county zoning. There is a piece where the city and county make agreements about what's allowed in urban reserve lands. And that is an agreement that I think is still to be worked out. Will I be pressured to develop my land if it's brought into the UGB? And Laura, you're a better person to answer that, but I don't think that there's pressure.
Well, in terms of the city being, you know, the one to pressure, no, that's going to be at the election of those landowners. Now, it's fair to say that the land will become likely more valuable. So there may be outside interests, you know, reaching out to see if you're interested in development, which creates opportunities. But in terms of the city pressuring or expecting you to develop in a certain amount of time, that's not something the city is going to come to you and ask.
Question I have, Beth, is if you put a little area in a UGB and for that to be annexed, it has to be touching existing city property.
Abutting the city limits as it is now, yes, and that could include a right of way as well.
So someone's behind someone, they may want to move into the city, but whoever's in front of them will not. So that might be pressure. But they have to be touching.
Abutting, yes.
Yeah.
And that's true for everybody who is already in the UGB and outside the city limits. All right. And then the direction that we need from you all is a restate. So do you have direction about rezoning all or a portion of the 2 tax lots that are the 51 acres from industrial to commercial within the existing city? And do you have direction about inclusion of a portion of sub area 7 in the UGB, considering landowner preferences for inclusion in the urban reserves, not UGB? And more broadly, do you have other questions about the proposed UGB and urban reserve areas? And
You want
when,
that tonight? No, we do have comments on all this, so it'll be good to hear them, give us some more information on it, I'm sure.
and if I may, just the last slide, just so you know, the next steps, once we have the areas that we're trying to include in urban reserves and UGB nailed down, we go and we finish our technical analysis and the findings, and we proceed on to hearings, and then eventually hearings with the county. And that is,
I'd like to keep within those timeframes if we can. We've been here a long time, so it'd be nice to get this final. So if we do need more meetings, we're willing to put some things in before that to get everybody heard and make sure we feel very comfortable about taking this to the public. Do you have any final comments that you think we need to focus on? How are we going to give you our information, answers to this at a future meeting?
I would like Lori to address that.
I mean, our hope was that we could, in one meeting, hear back from anyone who wanted to speak and that you would have the information you needed to give direction. Obviously, we lost some time tonight. There may be additional questions that come up. So what I would love to see is if we could go ahead and hear the public comments related to this topic. And then if you all want to come back and discuss, do you feel like you have the ability to offer clear direction? That would be great. If not, and there's something more that you need, I just would like to hear that during this meeting so that we can make a next step plan at least. Whether that's bring back different information, in the future, whatever that is, that would be like.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a few here I'd like to hear from. I think one of these microphones, make sure you're speaking into them loud. We'll start with Angela Rowe and Scott Parker. Kind of give direction. You're the owner of the 51 acre, so you'd like to kind of talk about your plan. And in terms of time, take your time, understand that we're a little behind, and we have to see what you have planned. Yeah, just when you're ready, name and city of residence.
My name is Scott Parker, 3652 Dolores Way, Columbia City.
My name is Angela Rowe, 821 Northwest 11th Street, Portland, Oregon. All right, try to keep this short. Good evening, Planning Commission, City Council members, and community at large. And thank you for the opportunity to introduce the vision for Scapoose's Innovation District. My name is Angela Rowe, and together with my business partner, Scott Parker, we formed Scappoose Hospitality Group with the sole mission to bring a hotel to the city of Scappoose. In addition, Mr. Parker is a significant landowner here. As we were talking about earlier, the 51 acres in question. His family has owned the land for 85 years. And it's through this partnership that we began to explore how this land could support not just one project, but a broader community vision for growth and innovation. What started as a hotel project quickly evolved into something bigger. The idea of an innovation district that brings together the pillars of live, work, and play. Anchored by OMIC and strengthened through partnerships with education, industry, and the community, this district is envisioned as a place where advanced manufacturing, workforce training, housing, and recreation come together. By rezoning the full 60 acres from, well, in y'all's terms, it's 51. I'm counting the 10 acres that are minus from the lake. The 60 acres from light industrial to expanded commercial. Our goal is to drive sustainable economic development, increase the city's visibility, and attract new business, jobs, and tourism to Scappoose. While doing so in partnership with the city and stakeholders through a thoughtful master planning process. To ensure this vision is shaped responsibly, we have issued a request for proposal for a highest and best use and master planning study. Our next steps will be to form a collaborative planning committee that includes the city and other stakeholders. This is not about one single landowner unilaterally changing zone. This is about working together to build a district that benefits the entire community for decades to come. In closing, we see the Innovation District as a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Scappoose. By planning this together with the city, stakeholders, and community at the table, we can create a district that generates jobs, attracts business and visitors, and improves quality of life while preserving Scappoose unique character. We are committed to collaboration every step of the way, and we look forward to working with you to turn this vision into a reality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question here.
Sure.
So I'm gathering from this brochure, because you're really looking at a mixed use application.
Yes.
Correct? Thank you.
And based on the zoning, I mean, do you have a rough time frame of when you're looking to begin and finish? I mean, is this a long-term goal?
This will be a long-term project. It will probably take between 12 years to 15 years to complete. 60 acres is a lot of land that needs to be master planned. We have already issued an RFP and received 3 responses from Jones Lang LaSalle, OTAC, and McKinsey. We are reviewing those proposals and we are getting ready to issue invitations to the Planning Commission for the 60-acre development.
One unique thing about the property in the lake that's on it is the lake is gonna stay in place. Because the land is virtually a hole, all the stormwater will come to the lake. I have engineers working on constructing bioswale completely around the lake. And besides making bicycle paths and trails and stuff for the community, it'll treat the stormwater around. So instead of digging, I've already got.
The fish.
What's the circumference of that lake?
That's a $64,000 question. I'm sorry. All that.
I'll come out, walk it and mark it.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Questions? Okay, next up, Mike Thompson. Name, city of residence, you're ready.
Mayor City Council, my name is Mike Thompson. I live at 50995 Southwest Old Portland Road. That is 5 of the acres that exist in Zone 7. I want to thank all the council members and the mayor. I have gone through some of this before in my recent history. And got a lot of it gone through. The couple questions I wanted to ask, you show on one of the maps, you show the zone 7 and 17 acres. It's a 20-acre piece been zoned for that. And in there is 14 acres of farm ground. And you show that it's low value farm ground, that is upper farm ground. I have been in the agricultural business for 40 years, I'm retired. And, I've been around a lot of fields and things like that. We are harvesting crops off of that and farming that, visiting. And the farmers that are in that area would agree with me that would be high value. And it's not shown in the brief. we have seen a letter, that there's 4 landowners in Zone 7, and I'll speak for the 4 landowners, we just all agreed that we didn't feel that we wanted to be part of an annexation over the long term. And we felt it was fair and honest to you to tell you that up front, so you knew when you were going into the situation, you're counting on that land to be fair with you and upfront and honest. So, in the earlier statements I heard that we requested to be part of the 50 year. I don't believe our letter stated that, but if that's an option, we'd like to talk about that.
Appreciate it. No, it's good to hear. Our questions would kind of come in if we did not include that, how does it affect the land around it? You know, are we able to move the line somewhere else? Does it block other people? So, hearing this now, I'd like to look at that a little more and see what are, again, as we stated, I think, from the city, we're not going to force anybody for annexation or come in and that is completely your right. But understanding that you don't plan on it, so you want to give us the information ahead of time, if that changes things. I would ask that if in 10 years, we see that we need land and we still are feeling the same way, are we able to swap it for other lands in another area that we can? And it sounds like we possibly can do things. So there's gonna be some questions that I'm gonna have that I want.
And our ears are open to those questions.
I wanted to clarify on that, hopefully you're there, to answer Mike's question about, the high value farmland for the sub area 7 parcels. While the soils and, you know, you may indicate that those are high value, I think that's strictly based on existing zoning. And I believe the county zoning reflects that it's under a county residential zoning as opposed to PA 80, like primary agriculture zoning or something like that. That's shaking our head. So it goes by zoning. It goes by zoning, not once it's already classified as residential in the county, it becomes what we call exceptions lands.
Okay.
That's just the difference.
My question is how did we get there when you do your studies?
It was already zoned that way, as we entered this process. So it becomes a higher priority in the state's scheme.
I just wanted the council to understand where we're coming
Oh,
from.
no,
what we're looking at,
absolutely.
And, you know, the reason we're here. And we understand the value could go up. We look at this land has been in some families for 97 years. So, you know, we want to continue some heritage and we don't want to look at unusable land for you guys. If it's there and you count it in, it makes it harder to move forward with plans. And I appreciate your openness at looking at other things, driving at what you did and things like that.
Question to you, Beth, too, then is, you're looking at only bringing in the blue area of 7 in the UGB. What about the same amount of acres just to the west of that touch Callahan, I'm guessing? So it would still be a budding city, you know, Callahan Road, or the portion of 8 that gets in, maybe to look, is there any amount of acres there that would replace these acres?
And I
And
think
would that be?
that is something that we would need to talk to Laurie and to Chris about, to make sure that, you know, from a services standpoint, that it made
Right.
sense, that kind of thing. So, yeah. I'll also mention that you can swap land into and out of a UGB. I've also swapped land in an urban reserve, but that's a little less clear under the law. So that would, if you're really interested in knowing about that, that would require some questions with the state.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for your information. Thank you. Okay, Brian Rosenthal.
Hi, Brian Rosenthal, 32256 Southwest JP West Road, Scappoose. I'm on the Economic Advisory Committee for the city. I'm also was on the 50-year plan. I'm not here in the capacity for either of those, just talking about that. There were several things that were very strange about the 50-year plan. I was actually on the previous UGB expansion that expanded the airport. And at the end of that process, we actually voted on it. This time, we were told and we were told that it would not move forward without a vote. Many of the volunteers spent years on this committee. And then at the last minute, we were told that we could not vote. It wasn't even that, do you want to vote? We could not vote on the plan. Many of us had reservations with the final plan. It contained things that were never discussed in our previous meetings. And so it was kind of a real surprise. Much of the plan I support, but the rezoning of the net 51 acres at Parker's Pit is just too much land at one time. And that was never discussed in our final meeting. And in fact, when we were at our final meeting, I brought up the issue that we could potentially end up with a few thousand apartments there. And because our current commercial zoning allows for that as an outright use. And then I look here under the Innovation District Plan, at our meeting, we were told, oh no, it's going to be commercial, maybe some student housing. Now they're saying apartments. And there was discussion of a best use, best value use for that land. I think you're going to find apartments. Apartments have a very high value compared to commercial land. Apartments rent for up to $2 a square foot. Commercial rents for $1.40. Has a high is actually about 12 acres. I heard numbers higher earlier. That includes all the West Bend property. So that includes Ixtapa, my property over there, and the movie theater, the oil loop place, Burger King, McDonald's. So, I mean, that's a very large thing. That's still less than half of this land. So that's the scale of this. And my biggest issue with all this is it's exclusionary. What it's going to do if we do this is it's going to prevent other commercial development from happening in town. In other words, it'll be a redo of what we did with the industrial. We're going to put it all out at the airport and with limited ownership of limited people. And then if developers, builders, investors don't share the vision or want the location or the price point, they will be out of luck. Because this is going to put us into 31 acres in excess of our 20-year supply. What that means is that we can't go and add until we burn this. If we don't burn it, we're going to sit there and wait and wait. And so there's two separate main issues. One issue is that it may end up being apartments on a scale that would utterly change our community. And I am concerned about that. I'd like Scap Boost. I think we can make it better. Pro-development, but it needs to be done in that fashion. The other issue I have is it's going to preclude all other development. In other words, you do this and nobody can change other land because we can't add more land to our thing because we've not only gone 31 acres over our 20-year supply, meaning that if we wanted to do another study and add more land, until we got all this land burned down, we got to burn 31 acres above before we can add one more acre. That's just going to completely block our whole process. I heard some discussion earlier where they talked about size of parcels and all of that. There's a very simple system. It's called a lot line adjustment. I personally have done several. And you can do lot line adjustments. So you guys can choose the size of amount of land. A lot line adjustment is a very simple process. I've done several. They're not expensive. They're not time consuming. They require, obviously a process, but it's nothing complicated. So any discussion of how big should it be, you guys can pick the size.
I don't know what's going on.
Current light industrial zoning pretty much allows almost everything they're talking about, with one exception, housing. So what I don't understand is why would you take all this land, make it commercial, put it in one location, not have other opportunities for other developments in other areas? And then we walked into this when the only thing this will allow somebody to develop is that we couldn't develop otherwise. There's very few differences. It's housing. Housing is the big difference between light industrial and commercial. You can put a big box store, you can put a hotel, you can put a restaurant. I think you can put a bowling alley, for God's sakes. Light industrial allows for a lot of different uses. And so to limit the other commercial aspects of our community in order to put it all into one pot seems very risky. I'd like to see Scap Boost continue to grow, but the way we grow is by having many options for many developers and many investors. And to limit it so that you can have anything you want as long as it's this one, I just don't see the need. Because if they want to put a big box store in over there, guess what? Light industrial, put it in. You can do that. There's no need to have all this land zoned this way. Now, let's say they do let's say we put 25 acres into a commercial over there, and they burn it up super quick, and it's going great, and the city fathers are happy with the outcome, then they can always get more land because they've used up that inventory. But once we put this land into commercial, we cannot bring more land in until we burn it. So there's no way to take it out unless the owner agrees to take it out. But the owners would seldom agree to a downzoning of land because it reduces their value. I had done previous written testimony as part of the 50-year committee, and I hope that you guys would have a chance to read some of that. That's all I've got, unless you've got some questions.
You've raised some that I'll have to ask, but not tonight.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll
Okay.
Quick clarification, Brian. So the economic development committee did not vote on
The Economic Development Committee was not involved in this process. It's just that I've been involved in development in this town for over 20 years. I was on the 50-year committee as well. And we were not, we asked about voting on it. We were told not to vote on it. They did actually ask for a quorum. I don't understand what happened because I was on the last one 13 years ago or whatever it was. And we were told we had to vote on it and we had to agree to it or it would not proceed. In fact, on the last round, not only the city fathers were a little concerned about changing the fabric of our community, they actually put it to a vote of the people. So before they were adopted. And what they did is we voted on it, we approved it. And then it went to a vote of the people. And the reason they didn't have to do that last step, but they did that because they wanted to give the people a chance to decide is this future that we want. And I would add one other little vignette. There's some really nice pictures in the package on the innovation district. Years ago, I was at a meeting and the consultant showed us some great pictures of a parcel that I was very familiar with because I was trying to purchase it. And I said, well, what you have on these pictures can't possibly be built. The land's not big enough. It's not the right location, whatever. And they said, well, yeah, you're right, but aren't they nice pictures? And I guess I'm saying is don't, look for solid things. When they talk about wanting to decide what they're going to do with the land, it seems like that would be the thing to do before you rezone it. Because once you rezone it, you have no authority if it's allowed use. So I would think we would have a better understanding of what's going on. And I also think part of the way to make sure that it's a good use that you guys would actually approve of is by doing part of the land, because then they're incentivized to do development that works for the city. But even with that said, I think we're going to go on after lions and tigers and bears instead of trying to get bunnies. And a lot of development in this town is smaller development, and it's worked well for the city over the years. And by excluding smaller parcels being rezoned commercial, I think they're going to hurt the city's development long term. It also goes against what the 50-year plan. Our committee said we wanted small regional commercial pockets, walkability, all sorts of other things that just are going to be pushed out of the plan by doing it this way. So thank you.
Thank you. Further.
Procedure 9317550 Southwest. I was vice chair of the 50-year plan and also chair of the economic development for the city of Scottsdale. I parrot what Brian had to say. My biggest concern with my experience with the 50-year plan is we did it for 3 years and we didn't vote. We didn't make we weren't able to make our recommendations, and then we had some time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank everybody. And Staff, do you have anything before we move on? Close out the work session.
Did we hear from everyone that had this as their topic?
Yep, that's it. Dave, Katie, and Alicia Hayden, we're gonna put you in the comments here in just a minute. I don't think Dave was regarding.
No, I don't think
so. I think they're next.
Okay, so that'll conclude the work session or the public comment. Did you have direction for how we want to move forward?
I know there are certainly some additional information needs for myself. I think before moving forward with this project or other proposals. So I was also on the committee and really was hoping to maybe see some different options proposed to the committee. I felt like we did do a large amount of work and we did talk about smaller commercial pockets and that topic never resurfaced as an option. So, I think what is before us is kind of would be either an either or choice. And I think maybe through the purchases and we do some development, kind of development of that area and look at maybe rezoning some of the residential that abuts commercial.
Well, I think the one thing, sorry to interrupt, just to stay on the same line of thinking is that The difference here is that we have willing landowners that approached us that wanted the rezone, so trying to, then that would be a little bit out of the scope of this study to go and approach landowners and ask them to rezone to commercial as part of our process. So that would just be one thing to consider if you're looking to spread the commercial around, is that these were folks who were willing parties, and there would need to discuss what that would look like to actually target, to go after landowners that are interested in potentially rezoning. I don't know what that looks like.
But I guess that then begs the question. Vision or availability?
And it's really land need, or I guess from my perspective, it was land need, knowing we needed a little more commercial land, and then having this opportunity, bringing it to the committee to get the feedback. We did receive the feedback, and then to bring it to you to get further information is, I guess, how we saw it.
Yeah, so I guess my direction would be, I would like to see a few more options to consider, rather than just settle for one opportunity. We also engaged the community a lot as the kickoff of the 50-year planning process, and really got a lot of good feedback about what the residents of Syracuse wanted to see, what was their vision for the community. I don't think we ever brought these two back together. I don't think we took their feedback and this proposal or any other alternative proposals and reevaluate them side by side. Is this proposal going to achieve what we heard from the community? I think that's a step that we also need to make. I would like to better understand all of the potential uses under a current light industrial zoning. What would technically be allowable if we didn't change things?
There's another point here, is that this puts us into 31 acres of surplus. So even if we said, hey, there's not any great sites besides this, and I'm not adverse at all to land part of this parcel, this area going in, I think it makes sense. So even though it was sprung on us at the last minute in our last meeting, it does make sense for part of this land to go in there. But it puts us, by doing all of it, it puts us 31 acres over, which means that not only does that eat up all of our current inventory, we have to eat up additional 31 acres before we even get to start considering adding 1 acre. And so there is another option. The other option is giving them some land. If we can't find any other better parcels anywhere else, then we just do part of it and leave it. And then if they burn that acreage up, they're doing a great job, we want more, they can get it. But if there's another opportunity somewhere else, we can also possibly do that. And it just seems incredibly limiting.
And that actually is in line. If you go back to that economic opportunity analysis I referenced earlier, one of the recommended actions is monitor and replenish the supply of commercial and industrial land on a regular and periodic basis. So the recommendation wasn't just find the largest parcel of land you can and call it good. It was to do this kind of iterative evaluation and development.
Things change constantly. If we had done a study in the early 70s, we would have said, we want more pickle plant land, we want all sorts of things, holly farm land, all sorts of stuff that nobody wants to do anymore. So to lock ourselves into a 50-year plan that isn't flexible and dynamic seems very limiting.
One question I have for you, Brian, is when you did the UGD on the industrial land and you were putting it way over in the industrial land we needed,
Yeah.
and you voted for that, what was the thinking back then?
So it barely passed. I did vote for it because it was an aspirational plan. And by that meaning that it was under different land use rules than we're dealing with for this. And it was aspirational in that we were hoping to create some large parcels, 50 acres, that kind of thing, that would bring in large employers. So far, obviously, it hasn't worked out. But then I also would say then is that we kind of learned our lesson, which is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because when you do that, if the basket doesn't work out, you've got nothing. And so it's unfortunate, and I'm hopeful that the airport will do better in the future, but that's what happened.
Question for you, Lori, then is if we brought in enough to get us to a net zero, we get the commercial land and somebody else in the city has 3 acres and wanted to rezone it, are they able to? If we don't show a need for more commercial land, they can rezone it. desire to, right?
Yeah, a landowner can apply for a rezone.
Even
They,
if we have excess land, they need to show why that should be.
they still need to show what the need is to rezone. We would need to, they would have to go back and reference the economic opportunities analysis, which shows that we still have, a need for commercial land. So yeah.
To your early question, I have a variety of questions that I would need before I could offer any more guidance. So,
Okay.
but let's bookend this, so let's come up with a date, by this date, we will be providing questions, so this would go on forever.
Agreed. So your suggestion is that the council will provide the additional information that they are looking for to staff, and then we would schedule a follow-up, after that.
Yeah, and so,
Okay.
yeah, so let's get some dates here, so this will go on.
I think that we need to have the next meeting in a public, obviously it's a public forum, but in terms of the questions that you have as well, that also needs to be in a public forum.
I would also like to see the 50-year committee being invited to talk to council, and so that we could give your feedback to you directly before you ask all of your questions. It's fine to ask whatever questions you want, but you may have additional questions after you speak to us. And so before you wrap that phase up, there's not much of a point of us talking to you guys if all the decisions have already been made.
Yeah, the questions you submit will be on the record, you will see them, and we will.
We also have the chair of the committee, as well. I think Pat might still be on the line if anyone has questions for him, but, yeah, what my goal here is to make sure you have the information that you need. We did not take a vote during the last meeting. We did keep it a little less formal in that way. We did follow our procedure as we did along the whole time, which is to take the feedback we received from the committee, and fold that into the plan. So this is our checkpoint with council in terms of what we heard at both the last SAC meeting and also, from that landowner meeting. However, my goal here is that you have the information that you need in order to give staff direction, because this is your 50-year plan. This is what's going to guide the city, and we definitely want to make sure that you have the information you need to make the best decision that you can make.
Can we do this in a work session,
Yes,
like a special work session, and not on Monday, because we're talking about meetings
absolutely.
coming up and there's not a lot of openings, so let's schedule a special meeting within the next 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and address this.
And bring your questions, and then we'll just start from there. Like, in other words, you're not directing us to prepare anything necessarily for this special work session. This is kind of a continuation to get all the questions out there and figure out our route forward. Does that sound?
Well, you want the questions in advance, so to make sure you're prepared for it.
If you're talking about meeting in a few weeks and I'm waiting on questions, it would be a little further than that before we would have answers to bring.
Will we get questions to you within a week and then have a meeting in 3 weeks? Give you 2 weeks to answer questions?
And potentially, yeah, and then checking with schedule for everyone involved. Yep.
Well, and I would welcome to the inviting the committee to come in for thoughts and be part of the discussion as well.
It'll be a work session, no vote, but recommendations can be made.
And would you like, to Kim's point, the 50-year plan committee members, the planning commission members again, and council for a big work session? Okay. Yeah.
That's a planning commission.
Yeah, planning commission, do you have anything that sound okay?
Do you want to be present at that meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, okay, now that, we're definitely a little behind and we do have a pretty packed meeting, is there anybody on the council or on the agenda that would schedule? Couple of these we'll be able to go through really quick, right? If at any time you don't have time to stick, let us know and we will reschedule as soon as we can. You want to make more to do someone up? city manager, you be community.
I think we can go in order. If you have some people here from.
Moving whole business behind you. The voter, just few quick voting, this, yeah. And then the public comment real quick. Okay.
We have to make one contact possible, and then the agenda for the Monday, August 8th, 2025 city council meeting to put new business in front of.
Welcome to the new business on whole business, we second. Second, all in discussion, all in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Vote. Okay, we're at public comment. Public comment is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to public hearing. Members of the public address themselves or request to get their name, city, resident, and please try not to repeat questions to allow for more speakers. Speakers are limited their testimony to 5 minutes. Comments, you have time to help if needed. We'll start with Dave Katie. And the microphones really help the people on the internet hear you. So we can keep out and proud.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. Thank you. My name is Dave Katie. I'm with David Beasley Homes. Address is 1905 Southwest 169th Place. That's Beaverton, Oregon. I just came here tonight to kind of give you an update. I know we had several neighbors to our accuser estates that's under construction that came in and commented on some construction activity there. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick update as to what we're doing. We've reached out to 3 of the landowners. We've met with them in person and have listened to some of their concerns and things that are happening to their residences. We have also informed them or let them know that we are using standard construction practices on site. We did have a geotechnical study done for the site, and that are the most of the vehicles on site are very similar to weight and size and produce similar energy that you would have from a normal dump truck, a fire truck, or garbage truck or fire truck. Very similar mass and size of equipment we have on site. Some things that we've done for mitigation on site is we've reduced some of the size of the equipment that we're using lighter equipment. We've also moved to using static compactors versus vibratory compactors for earthwork. I did want to also note that I brought one of these in here that our project team has put together. And also with me tonight is actually our land development manager, Catherine Joseph, who's in charge of the site. She has put this together to provide this to neighboring property owners. It kind of gives a brief understanding of what we're doing on the site. You guys can take a quick look at it. See, I think one of the things that we're hoping is a new best practice, and we have a website or QR code that neighbors can now go to look for weekly updates, or you can as well. Try to update it every Friday. So over the weekend or Monday, the site, what's happening on site, what we're going to be doing should be updated. We're hoping to also just post that to where people know if we're going to have road closures and flagging, or temporary road closures and flagging out on the Keys Road, or when we connect to JP West, that'll be announced on there so people can be aware of upcoming things that would occur there. It also notes the schedule for construction. I did want to make a note that probably the peak heavy equipment is going to start to come to a very lighter amount of use through October, mid-October. So the intensity is when we're actually, paving and building the roads will be the most intense activity on site. But then after that, we'll go to underground, franchise utilities, power, that sort of thing. So the intensity and the things that are happening on site will start to reduce there by the end of October and become a little bit quieter, with the substantial completion being around the end of the year, first of the year. So I want to let you know too, the next steps is we are going to continue to monitor the work with our project team. And then also continue to reach out to the neighboring landowners, communicate with them as we make progress and see what we can do to be good neighbors. So with that, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But other than that, I just wanted to make sure you knew we were paying attention and working with staff to do our best to be good neighbors through this construction process.
Nora, thank you very much. The line of communication now open and we're working together. Do you know if you're the project manager on the next project here in Staff News as well?
Catherine Joseph behind me here, she is the project manager for both of those, land development manager for both sites and staff use, both Buxton and User.
Okay. Appreciate it.
And we actually, the same QR code will take you to the same site for both. And there's you can see information on our website for both projects as well.
Great. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
All right, Lisa, Keys.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Alicia Haggis. I'm a resident of Scappoose. I'm here tonight to submit a formal complaint regarding the conduct and inaction of both city manager and police chief, and to ask the council to take meaningful action. For months, I've raised concerns regarding police misconduct, licensing failures, and public safety issues, and I've received either silence or shifting explanations in return. One of the most serious issues involving how a local massage business was allowed to operate without a valid license or facility permit. The business was originally approved in early 2024 under a licensed provider. But in June that same year, ownership changed and a new owner had no license and no facility permit. Despite that, the city allowed the business to stay open. The license was considered active in January 2025, more than 6 months after it became invalid. The Oregon Board of Massage Therapists later confirmed what I already suspected: the business was operating illegally. They issued a final order and civil penalties. What makes this worse is the city knew about these concerns before reapproving the license. There was even internal discussion about it involving the state for enforcement, yet no one took steps to stop it. And when I brought this forward, I was told my concerns were unsubstantiated without any real explanation, investigation, or accountability. This is not an isolated issue. My family has dealt with ongoing retaliation involving the school district, including false reports, harassment, and threats to our children's safety and education. When I tried to report those incidents, I got no response. In June 2025, I called dispatch to report serious concerns, and again, no one followed up. These repeated failures, from police accountability to licensing enforcement, show a pattern of avoidance, a pattern of leadership saying it's not our problem. Council members, I know you've seen this unfold. Many of you have been included in emails since January. You've seen the documentation, you've seen the silence, and now I'm asking you to do what others in leadership have failed to do: take action. I'm calling on this council to review what happened with the business license, determine whether procedures were followed or ignored, examine how past reports of police and school-related retaliation were handled, and most importantly, tell the public what went wrong and what will be done to prevent it from happening again. And I need to say this clear and on the record. Last time I spoke out publicly, my family was retaliated against. We were harassed, we were watched, we were treated like suspects instead of people asking for help. I sincerely hope that this time things will be different, that my voice will be respected, that we will see accountability, not punishment. And so I close with this question, one that deserves a real answer, not a deflection. What is council going to do to correct this misconduct? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That's it for public comment, unless there's anything online, or Stephen, anybody else make a comment? Thank you, guys. For me, public comment, we'll comment at this time. Moving on real quickly, we are at the consent agenda, which is tonight, August 4th, 2025, City Council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Here, I move that council accept that.
Council President Miller, to accept the consent agenda, any second? Iago, Council Santiago, second, for the discussion. Being none, all in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We're moving down to new business, establishing wind farm at Heritage Park. Bailey Beacon, LPC, LMHC, Columbia Health Services. Would like to speak. Up to the microphone. You have all your information in a package.
Some slides.
They're probably,
They're in their packet, but can see if I can.
is there any empty packets there for them?
No, the packets were, just looking to see if I can bring them up, sorry. I need to see if I can share it though here, sorry. I can get back here. I don't know why this is. And Jay, sorry, I need to borrow you again. Sorry. I don't understand why I did this. I was trying to get the packets. How did you go back into this?
I'm a local resident inspectors and here. I got the campus and the voices. And my workplace is located at Gable and so on, but we serve all of Friday County. I have a personal history of in my weather problem of utilizing cultures and through these interests that I think this particular project came out of me. I see a need for additional data resources in our community.
So can you just do it and not share it with anybody? Other.
Everybody through many of our schools this year. Co-workers, family, communities, community pages, you know, it's hard to get on any of those pages without witnessing voices that people have experienced, and I've been on those here knows how hard that can be. 7:30, and then also just been touched by substance use and how prevalent that can be in our community. And I have this this kind of grounding belief that grief unites us in our humanness because we all experience it at some point in our lives. It's not something that we can avoid. And so, next slide. So that kind of brings me to the idea of what is a wind phone. If anybody's sort of been here, there's been a couple of stories recently on local news channels. One of them that's done below that I won't speak right now. But
basically what a wind farm is, if you come in front of them, is a rotary fountain that's not actually hooked up to anything. There's no one on the other side, but it offers a smaller place of healing and a designated space for people to process their grief and to connect with a loved one that they lost. And the original wind phone that was created by Hikaru Sasaki in Japan. He created that in his own garden after losing his cousin. And then that became a staple for his community because they processed the loss of many of their community members after the tsunami.
Bailey, sorry to interrupt. Can you speak into the microphone a little bit more? Sorry. Thank you. Sorry.
And so that kind of led, his story inspired someone named Amy Dawson, who created the Wind Phone website, where people can now blog, share, all wind phones that she knows of are located on there in a map. And if you look at just those numbers there, you can see how quickly it is growing currently. It's gone up from 376 to 442 globally just within the last few months. And actually, the last time I updated this slide was maybe a month ago, so there's a few months. But yeah, through her own experience of loss, she wanted to create a collective space for these wind phones to be discovered and found and shared. And next slide shows a picture of what the original wind phone looks like. It's still located in Japan. And so they come in all different shapes and sizes. It basically is just a phone and oftentimes a seat. Sometimes they look like this, where it's, people get creative and there's an actual phone booth. Sometimes it's just a phone down to a tree. But this is kind of where the original inspiration came from. And as you can see, there's a kind of visitor's log. There's a phone there. There's a nice bench that I think is wonderful for when folks need, to politely wait their turn. And my hope is to put a couple of these in Columbia County, because I've seen how grief resources are needed. Next slide shows a brief summary of all the symptoms that are currently in Oregon, Southwest Washington area. When I first started embarking on this project with the support of my workplace, there was only 3. And just since last September, basically, there's now not many. And the 2 most recent are in Portland on President Road in St. John's, and then of the Motor Garden in Funeral Home on Skyline. And that one also recently had a news article written about it if you want to, which is exciting to hear. The next couple slides, I had an opportunity to visit a wind phone in Lincoln City. So this one was also set up like a phone booth, but many of them are not. At the beginning of these slides, there is a QR code that takes you to the website where you can see all kinds of different examples. It's a wonderful resource of information. But just to kind of get an idea of what they can look like. And next slide shows I actually went in and did use it. They had dedicated this particular wind phone to a loved one that lost, which is optional. But I will say, even knowing what they were and having done extensive research on them myself, I wasn't expecting to experience kind of a profound sense of sacredness of stepping into the space, being able to close the door and have that one picking up. And that's kind of the whole purpose of the rotary phone, is the symbolism, the nostalgia of turning the dial, kind of the tactile experience and connecting the body to the grief experience. And so next slide shows how I could see a wind farm serving Columbia County. It's a unique and something outlet for people who need to express their loss. A therapeutic space for function and healing, as well as a tangible tool for someone to connect to their loved one. I think when thought about it in a thoughtful way, it's an affordable and private resource for those who have limitations to accessing grief support, because we don't have any facilities in our county that actually specialize in grief support. I'm, with it being my passion, trying to offer that to as many clients as I can, but I'm one person. I know there's probably other therapists out there that do that, but also not everyone has the means to be able to access counseling. And everyone grieves in a unique way, and so if maybe that's also the right fit, and they need something that is simpler. But it's also an opportunity to connect people with other needed resources, and I'm thinking mental health, physical health, food, housing, crisis response, or other grief resources. A lovely coworker of mine created a Columbia County resource guide that is located on our website in digital format. But I do have a hard copy here as well, if anyone that's interested in seeing it. I could see even just a QR code being able to link someone to this, even if they just happen to walk up to the link button, not needing to use it for its estimated purpose, but saying, hey, I think these other resources too, and I want to find them. And then also, I think given, especially some of the hardships that many of our communities in Columbia County have faced within the last few years, I think people really need to see how much community cares. And I think this is an opportunity to lean into that. And so I apologize because these last two slides are not quite up to date. I initially presented this to some St. Helens City staff because I initially been thinking of Columbia County as a whole. St. Helens kind of felt like the central hub that could feel maybe most accessible to all areas of Columbia County. But I've already actually been collaborating with them and establishing wind phone at one of their parks. And when I was searching for different possible leads of how to make this happen, a wonderful member of the St. Helens Kiwanis Club had mentioned that they collaborated with Scottsdale City to establish a Blue Star Memorial here at Heritage Park. And she recommended that I reach out because she said it was a wonderful experience working with all. And so, that's how I got in touch with Dave. I think I saw his name up on the screen before to reach out and present here. But, and so this is actually would be the second wind farm that I hope to establish if I'm able to get some collaboration in deciding where might be a good location. I certainly think that Heritage Park could be a good option, just given its location, its proximity to, you know, the library, the police station, city hall, the farmers market. It's a well-traveled place. But I'm also very open to considering other locations as well, and not necessarily just a park, because these can be put just about anywhere. They can be collaborated with among small businesses. But I want to make sure that anything that I do is, that I receive appropriate permission to do that, and the more collaboration with the community. What's wonderful is that with the support of my work, we have funding for this project. I'm asking for funding from the city, mainly just this collaboration at this point. And I've been granted a certain amount to kind of establish the first and potentially the second, depending on how far that goes. Because really it's the location that determines what it would look like and what materials would be needed and what that would cost. But I've done some research on some simplified versions that are not like the actual phone with those are but something that would be smaller, more kind of like a book library type style with the Vine Time. There's many that are like that. would be able to, kind of fulfill the purpose, and not cost as much. Because also there's been concerns brought up around things such as vandalism or, you know, even our organ weather, like how durable is it going to be? And so kind of proceeding into that cautiously of, let's not spend more if we might have to fix it or might have to repair it. And then that last slide, you can pretend that, that's a map of Scotty's.
Is theirs up now?
No, it's not
Can
yet.
you still
It's a
take it
work,
down?
it's a work in progress. It's not the very last slide.
Oh, you said last slide, so I was like, sorry.
Well, I mean, this is great. I really appreciate it. It's really good information and good stuff, and at least that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, if I may,
Yeah.
so just kind of some considerations that I've already been considering when it came to the first one fund that we're still working on. But just whether it's on public or private land, what kind of permission is needed there. You know, considerations around indoor versus outdoor. The important thing about these is that they need to be very accessible, but they also need to offer some privacy just because people are having a vulnerable moment when they go into these. Someplace that feels peaceful, could potentially offer a connection to nature, but also just considering our organ weather. And then of course, things like security, maintenance, restock, signage. At one time I had really liked the idea of like having hard copies of these in there. With the wind farm that I'm currently establishing in St. Helens, it's not looking like that's gonna be the best fit for the location and the type that we're building. But like I said, being able to transfer this into like a QR code that doesn't take up so much space and doesn't need as much maintenance and restock. And then, yeah, there's also on that website, there's like different examples of different signage or other ways that people can create.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Really, I like the idea. And I think it could actually work into kind of a piece of art that fits into the community. So you can work with that. And I suggest that you, contact the Run with Neil Foundation. Lisa Hoffman would be very interested in this. And I can connect you with the like.
That'd be wonderful.
Yes, Councilor Holmes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the project is a beautiful idea. These phones are great. I have heard about them. When I did see the recommendation, maybe Heritage Park, I do have some concern potentially about the location because it's like a deeply, private personal moment, right? That you're expecting people to have. And like you said, this is pretty well traveled.
Yeah.
And so I don't really want the location to be a barrier to use potentially. So I guess I would encourage you and potentially the city to look for really what would be the best location for this most suitable. Because I did look at locations in Albany, like there's this Wooded Park. There was Silverton's is kind of like in a field, kind of in a beautiful overcome area. So maybe places that are along the signs.
Yeah, and I'm completely open to that as well and hadn't, put too much thought into that yet, but I would love to collaborate with, the parks manager or whoever would be the most appropriate to help me navigate that.
I guess, thank you. Yeah, as Bailey mentioned, you reach out to Dave, and then Dave approached me on this. You want to bring it to council really to get the idea and get a presentation about this to see if this is just something the council is interested in pursuing. We can still work through the logistics of that. We didn't want to spend a lot of time or energy on that if it wasn't something the council was interested in. So that's really the main purpose of this proposal today, is to get get the ball rolling, get the council's interested or not. And so we can work out where, how, what it might look like. We'll further come back with another recommendation of that. We like I said, I didn't want to spend that much time if it wasn't. It was a unique idea. It's really cool, but we want to make sure that you guys are on board with that before we do that.
Are you looking for like this an official vote or each of our opinions, recommendation?
I would like a motion. I would like at least consensus. Is this something the council wants us to spend our time working on? If it's you see it as a valuable resource that we could add to our lives or somewhere in the city.
Well, personally, I agree. I mean, it's a great idea. I'm curious about what time are you talking about the staff will be spending on
I think Bailey's spending most of the time, but we'll be coordinating, some of those things about. I mean, Dave, I already mentioned that concern about heritage, so we want to come and maybe think about the considerations we talked about. Identify some different locations, probably back a couple options for the council, but like I say, we just want to really run forward. So
I think-
this was something, you know.
I think it's a great idea. It's like a thumbs up, but for them to work with staff and you figure out who and how, but looking at locations and security and maybe once you think you've got it figured out, present it to us, just to make sure it looks like it matches everything that we stand for, or to give you the ability to, if you want to present it, this is what it's gonna look like, and this is what it's gonna be.
Any opposition to it, or is everybody pretty well on board? That's all I need. Okay, we'll have Dave reach out.
And if it's one, it could be different locations, so that we're not looking for just one single location.
Right now, her proposal is one location, so I do this, I mean,
Yeah,
maybe-
one location.
So I definitely look
I
at
would love to grow this. to-
Starlink one, I mean, we just added Meisner Park, which is a walking nature type park, so look at those, look at them all and. Yeah, I think, without a motion, I think we all agree.
Thank you very much. And my workplace too has staff and volunteers, available to help, like, make the logistics of this happen too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to number 5. I can't find my notes, so I'm sorry, Columbia County.
Sounds up.
Ground Beach Trail,
We've had a lot of good.
it's just Riley. Just Riley.
And Jim and a very.
Ground Trail Advisory
Did you say
Committee
this one
update.
here? This one here? And so I have it here.
On your copy.
No.
Okay, home in Santiago. We are here to talk about the Crown Feed Trail and.
I don't know how to do it.
We're gonna move through things a little bit
Where'd
quickly.
it go?
A little history on the trail.
Can I put
It's
it
been
on?
used probably for hundreds and hundreds of years by the original indigenous people. And then it was utilized with the trading system. It also was established
And then I
by
have to
two
go
Longing
to it.
brothers that owned the timber company and became a
How
railroad.
did I do that?
And then it was a logging road, transporting the logs there. By the 1990s, it's not even allowed because the rest of the infrastructure around it had developed. And it sat vacant for a while until it was purchased by Columbia County in 2004. So here with me to give you a little bit more of an update of what's been going on and to share the slides with you is our Facilities and Parks Director, Riley Baker, and Curator, Museum, Society, and everything, Les Waters. We also have a council or a committee member, your manager, Benjamin Bergner, sits on the committee as well. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to them. The last time the committee was here, it was to give an update for the laying of the infrastructure on the portion that's owned by Scappoose. And some of that work has been done and Les Waters has been shared with you.
So, said we have a lot of slides here, but I'm just going to talk briefly about it. So we have an interactive map, a Google map that has these locations where the signs and kiosks could be located in various topics. So this is a working tool for us as we put this together. So I'm just going to go through those that section, what is a potential for some information to share with the public. And there are different sections. So go to the next slide. And so this is the Churchill Trailhead today. And then we'll keep going. So these are some potential signs that could be there on the railroad history side. And this is signs about history of Scapulus at this location primarily. Next slide. If this is just a visual representation, they would have information about them. As the viewer at the kiosk is looking at the slide. The next slide. So that concludes.
Sorry.
And there's another potential site for logging information, pictures. Just go through these quickly. This just gives you sort of a representation of what we would possibly include. Also at the Turtec site, there's a potential to have more local history represented there. And we run the work with the Scapulus Historical Society and local people to flesh out what story you wanted to tell there. But this is some things that I came up with, like this aerial picture that shows it there. Next slide. More aerials showing where you are at that location. Next slide. This would be more local history about the school that was located there. History along West Lane. Next slide. And then this one, there was a bomber that crashed here. Most people don't know this story, so it's an interesting way to relate. And also on some of these, we can put on QR codes. I make a lot about QR codes tonight, but they're really quite functional for some things. In this particular case, it would take you to a website that we've created with more detailed information about the bomber, about what was going on with the armed forces at that time and why this bomber was loaded with bombs and crashed and no one got hurt. Next slide.
What about a car crash?
I'm sorry, I didn't do that.
No, sorry.
Mayor's just relating it to current events.
So the next after the Turtec is the airport, wildlife, and natural history signs. So this is the next section that we've identified. And some of these we located where we did a walk along, all over long ago, that was 2.5, 3 years ago, with some Scapulus staff. Okay, next slide. So the airport is the next slide. There's a variety of things that could go here, including the history of the Scapulus Airport. Next slide. Again, aerial pictures. Next slide. The history, the construction, the founder. Next slide. Or possibly something representing a local person involved with the airport. Next slide. These are prepared by Jonathan Hakeem. I don't know if you're familiar with the name or not, but he has a lot of credibility in putting together information about it's in Columbia County having to do with wildlife and natural history. And these slides are not complete in any way, and they need to be, the artwork needs to be done, the stories need to be heard. Next slide. Next slide. The next slide. The next slide. So these are all, again, representative of various stories that could be told there. They're really located at, he gave us the coordinates for where the sign should be located so that you could actually see the wildlife or whatever is depicted on the sign. Next slide. Some of them, like this, is how the ecosystem works. Again, very informative for some people that they're looking at the swamp water. Next slide. Slide. Okay, so this one is a little different that he prepared. It's more about the history of some things that he thought needed to be included. I haven't figured out exactly how this might work. But again, if you never knew what happened to the Wapato and why it's gone from here, you'll find out. It's the card. Okay, next slide. Again, more wildlife at that location. Next slide. So this is the final section. And this is at Chapman Landing area. And I divided it up into signs that and kiosks that have history primarily about what happened in this area. As Kelly Jo mentioned, there was a lot of logging activity. So next slide. There was also farming activity in the Dyke land. Next slide. So this is a representation basically of where you are and what the Dyke land was. Next slide. This is where it was in Delta Farms. What Delta Farms is. Hopefully you will at some point know what that was. It was a big deal for Scappoose, agriculturally for sure. Next slide. Again, wheat grown in the Delta lands. Next slide. You may recognize that barn today. That was all part of the agriculture of the area. Next slide. So this is an alternative or an addition group of information about the Dyke land. Next slide. We just recently acquired these images, and I don't think many people have seen them, so that provides some interest, but it also provides a lot of information about this area. So what you're seeing there on the left is slough, and then where the railroad once went out and dumped the logs into the Chapman Lock. And all those roads in front are there today, but you see all those buildings, they're not there. Those were before the railroad. Service expansions. Next slide. Again, more aerials. This is the 1948 flood. Next slide. Again, the 48 flood, and that's what a lot of these are, showing the area that I have never seen this before. So I think they're very interesting. Next slide. And that's still there today, but that's what it looked like in 1948. Next slide. So also the Braceros, this is the program that Scappoose had here during the war, excuse me, during the war when they needed agricultural help. And there was a program throughout the United States. Scappoose had the Braceros program here. Next slide. This is what that could look like. So there are four really nice pictures of the Braceros. So this is a large size kiosk. I'm going to get to that in a second, but it incorporates those four signs. Those are 20 by 30 inches, as well as a sign above that explains what it is. So that's kind of the concept of what some of these could look like, and there are four or fewer. This can all be refined one way or another. And that's a mock-up of what many of them look like on the other side, the Highway 30, then up there to Greeley and other areas, you'll see some that have that same exact layout. Next slide. So these are those pictures. We can go through these quickly. Next slide. Next slide. It's all in Scappoose. Oops. Next slide. Next slide. So moving on from the agriculture to the rest of the Chapman Landing, the next slide. So there was this interesting little visit by the Middlebourne Forestry School, and they hired a professional photographer to come along to all of our benefit later on. And they came out to look at the logging along the trail at that time. And they came, next slide. And they came aboard these coaches, and they were fairly affluent students, and they had come here to view what logging was like at the time. Railroad like logging primarily. Next slide. And next slide. So this is a dump I mentioned, the Chapman Lock dump, as I mentioned before. So this was during their visit in 1911. The next slide. Okay, this is an alternate update. Next slide. Very recently received these colored slides from the descendants of Joe Churchick. As far as they have not been seen before, so I think they're cool from that perspective. But whether they fit the story, we have to work on that. But this is the log dump, and you can see back there the trestle. Next slide. The next slide. The next slide. And the next slide. And then finally, and so and this is just example of what we could do as far as taking perspective or whatever, make it relatable to the people that are viewing it. And you have people that are going to be mobile, who this might make some sense to, but you also have to make it so that other people, visitors, there are many visitors to the area that understand. So that's a very quick overview of just some potential topics and information. And the format is basically the same as we've used elsewhere. So that's a demonstration of how that could work. Do you have any questions about that? No.
Maybe you or Ben, I mean, this is something you're as a member working on. When they come up with some, you bring it back to us for like final review. Are you gonna ask us for any decisions? I know there was talks about signage before with Public Works. I mean, we're all on board now with design and everything that matches west side.
Yeah, for the kiosks, I had to clarify that with Dave Sugo. He said that the kiosks, they're on board with Dave, that for et cetera. They had already met that, and kiosks, they were fine with it. The only discussion they had mentioned was, again, the, which is separate from what was presented here, just signage, off the road, but that's not about this. So, yeah, as far as process, what's asked, I mean, from the committee, Les, or what do you need from the council tonight?
Well, for this, the purpose of this was just to reacquaint you with the project and see if there were any questions, because there's still a lot that needs to be done and work through. First of all, the county and Artie's going to talk a little bit about that, but there's more funding that's going to be needed to complete some of this. There's some decisions about size and location too that needs to be made jointly. So I think what we're looking for here is acknowledgement that we're still doing this. We're happy to do it. We want to do it. I think from the committee standpoint, we think it's a great project, great addition to both the trail and to the community.
I really appreciate it. I think it's great. We're gonna run up west side and read all the signs, and it'd be really nice to have some down on the east side, I guess, on Scapoo side too. I think that would be great. And you are working with the NACAR Historical Society as well as.
Let's say the historical.
For Scapoo.
No, I mean, but we have. Janet Williams.
Yeah.
Over the last 20 years, many hundreds of people have been involved in curating just the signs in general, bringing pictures together and deciding what should be featured there. So those voices do still hold true with Les and what he has been bringing in front of you today. But I think that that's part of the thought is he is here with what has been recommended and willing to work with your city manager and hopefully your staff and find what will work best along the trail.
I think it's great. It's neat to see pictures that show up that you hadn't seen before that are still coming out, you know, showing history. I think that's great.
Right, and we do have a website, as I mentioned, where all the pictures that don't make it here are still accessible. If we would want to share.
So a comment and question. So, thank you. This is, I agree, this is a great project. Actually, I do have some family, that my grandfather was a Bracero that came to States, and I don't think Scapoo's, but, he was part of the program. So it's a dear, program that happened. There, I was looking at, so you were saying you're still working on it because some of the content that's already in that slide with the Braceros, it talks about the present tense. I don't think there's been any adjustment to the text that's been done because everything else it was and then there's it is. So I'm not sure if there's been any correction on that.
And I can explain that. Like, there was articles in the local papers about the program explaining extracted from that.
Right.
It needs
to be redone. I agree. And then there's, I would like to see, personally, because it's also, something for my family, that more and more the contributions of the Braceros did for the agricultural world and the railroads as well. So that the hands that built this town. So that would be great to see that as part of the content.
You know, so I highlighted it. So I think it's a story that really needs to continue to be told, appreciated.
Great.
So,
I also have questions. What about, is there gonna be audio, that they can either scan the QR code, say audio for the people that are visually impaired? Is it gonna be braille or anything like that for people that can't see?
sorry to agree with that. No, I have not made any provision for that, but it's certainly something to look at. Because this section of the trail is a little different than the others because you do have cell phone service. Most of the don't. So that enables us to tell more of a story to more people. I would welcome that, but I'm not sure about the technology that's really outside of my case.
To expand a little more on the cost, you as Caboose could do whatever you would like to do because you might want to be willing to help contribute to what is featured there. The foundation structures, the steel posts are already purchased and ready to be utilized. There's also another form of kiosk that is lower in areas of the trail that don't want anything blocking a view. So it would set down into the ground a little bit differently with this slant on it. It would let people still view as they're walking by, but it would not. You can also do some different things to it, whether you want pictures on both sides or maybe a scatter of pictures or a big picture, really however you would like. The county has contributed a lot in the terms of staffing hours and finding some grants and doing different things. So our ask is that possibly Caboose would like to come to the table to help in the development and the design of those pictures and what is actually featured on the sign.
I'd like to add that projects like this are really good for grants.
I was just gonna ask if you're able to look for grants as well for the project that they're.
How much are we talking here? What's the range? So we have, a few years ago, there's a tourism grant that we did for different towns in Lee County. For Scat Boots, we have 12 of those larger kiosks, the one that starts on there. That's the larger one. And we have a smaller one. Commissioner Smith was talking about it. It just is one sign on a 35-degree. So we have 4 of the smaller ones and 12 of the larger ones set aside for your guys' side of the trail here. So we have 16. For the smaller ones, labor materials about $1,500. For the larger one, it's about $3,000. And that's labor material we're a pretty finely tuned machine. We have less working on the printing with Pacific Stainless. Pacific Stainless makes the posts. We get the lumber, the concrete, and the parts guys install it. It's about $400 for is labor for the parts guys and seeking the map. That's the limit. And that's just all the costs.
That's county.
County provided, yeah. And also, I hate that the last side of pre-food, it's a lot more interesting than the paper. But you guys made us.
Yes.
First, I'm always for. I have a question for Les. So Les, what was the first few years you started volunteering at this activity?
For the Crown Sea Trail?
Yeah.
I wasn't on the committee. I sort of got roped into it. I don't remember. 8 years ago, maybe.
I thought in college, Les has put an incredible amount of time, volunteer time into it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to go on record that I got less to join the house. Not a big deal.
No, it's good.
Okay.
No, thank you. Yeah, I was saying with the technology, you will eventually be able to hit your QR code and then have some pop up your phone and you can listen, eventually, audio. Sure.
Your guys' side of the trail too, with it, ADA accessible and cell phone rings and all that, there's a lot more stuff than we have on there.
And to that point, if I may. We just started using similar technology in our new museum that's going to be opening, where we have QR codes associated with certain weapons. We have an expert who describes the weapon, how it functions, its history. So you see a video, a narrated video with the item. So it's very doable.
Are we under any time frames here, or is there any time frame in the county?
Well, I'm not, yeah.
Yeah.
I know when they broke into the committee, that was the first question, we'd like to get it moving forward again. I said, I know our council would be interested in something moving forward. So I know that we're wanting to try to get it moving.
Yeah, you can just steps, if I could get one section laid out, do that, as we're working on the other, it's more complicated.
Not this economy of scale, I think we could do 4 now and 4 later. I mean, doesn't save us a lot of money by doing a couple of, I mean, you can spread it out. Do all at once.
Do we have to get money in the budget that we put in there for this, or?
To be clear,
Yeah.
on the 60 we have, you guys want.
Yeah, so we can get started with what they have. Okay, so.
Except for the printing.
Well, it is like 16 and a 2-mile stretch. That should be quite a few. And
So what is our earning? What is the earning? It's about $100 $180 a picture.
20 by 30, and if they go larger, they're more.
So about $1,000 for a dual sided 8 pictures.
And the banner too. And I was going to say, the longer you wait, the likely those costs will go up. They cost
With the local printer?
civic stainless. So the product is a
Oh, I.
metal that's powder coated, printed, sealed, board on panels. It's working really quite well on the west, on the trail today. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that and very little negative. I've never received.
That were the photos that were included in the packet. Were there any other photos that maybe you were less favorable for, or you're good with? Or is there anything that was proposed? I just go over those and work with them, I guess.
Right. And I'll add a caveat here. So as I could do this, sometimes the photo quality doesn't hold up at that size. Substitution or do something else. Because I want to tell a story and I want to have an image to support it.
Software actually just fixes photos. You just put down.
You think?
That's what we have from playing.
Well, I guess, my only preference, I think this is wonderful. I enjoy all of the signs I've encountered on the trail. My preference would maybe be for black and white photos over color, just kind of for the like historical nostalgic aspect of it, but.
What about the wildlife?
Oh, that's.
And I like that would be more at the marsh area where
Right.
water is.
Right. Between the Jackman Landing area, the Dykeland area.
I don't know if there's any of those other pictures of downtown Main Street fit in anywhere, just the history of Scappoose.
Well, there is that section that could be devoted, and I would work in historical society or whoever to come up with the best images of whatever story or else whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if it fits, if it shows. building.
Aren't you putting the signs as for the area that it's talking about, right?
With the exception of that, so a lot of the history there's no pictures because it's quite early history. It's a block house, so there's that picture of the school that's there. Other than there wasn't much going on in that particular area for quite a while. So you're kind of telling maybe a related story of the history of the schools or Scappoose or maybe a different time.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for taking the time. Get in there.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to council extends council meeting past way.
Thank you.
Council President makes a motion to extend the meeting well past 9 p.m. tonight. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Halligan. Any discussion? You know, favor state by saying aye. Aye. Move. Okay, you want to move back up to old business? That's number 6 first. Okay, discussion to cancel September 2nd meeting. Right now, we really do not have anything but the interviews for a council member. So we were looking at making more efficient to hold off and skip the September 2nd meeting. Are there any issues? We will probably have a work session in between now and the next meeting to discuss your plan. The UGB expansion, separate, but we'll come up with that.
Is that for the most times, a separate meeting types of work, or just use the second?
The problem with that is it is right the day after holiday, so that all the staff, maybe you're talking 2 or 3 days, we will have to get their information. And that's only 2 weeks from now. So I mean, I don't think they would, that's the memo, I don't think we got our questions in a week, they'll only give a week to finish the answer on. So we can look and see if putting it onto the next meeting or redo it sometime after September 2nd, before September 15th. But looking at September 15th, we have a few things for the meeting, but nothing that needs to be done September 2nd. I think we got a input from Ms. Jacobs, that he was okay. So is there a motion to cancel September 2nd meeting?
The motion to cancel September 2nd.
So I'm gonna vote to cancel September 2nd meeting. Any seconds? Councilor Haugen, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Obviously, if something important comes up, we will definitely meet at the special meeting. Okay, back to old business real quick. Ordinance 921, an ordinance amending comprehensive plan map and zoning map, approving offset self-storage application for site development review and sensitive land development permits. We're on our second reading. We have had a motion and a second. So is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Qualify that not opposing the project itself, I am not in favor of the timing of the decision relative to the future land use decisions.
Okay. Noted. Have 4 still ayes, motion carries. Ordinance number 3, ordinance 922, an ordinance renaming a portion of southwestern Mullen Dam Street to south of the Broken Way. And we're on the second reading. We've got a motion to approve and a motion second to approve. Any further discussion? None, all in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're down to calendar. Already in. We're in the September 1st, the office is closed for Labor Day, again, every Saturday in September, Farmers Market 9 to 2, Planning Commission on 9/11 at 7 p.m. Council work session on September 15th at 6 p.m., followed by council meeting at 7 p.m. EDC meeting scheduled for September 18th. That meeting already been canceled.
Yeah.
EDC already been canceled. And then Planning Commission, September 25th at 7 p.m. Scheduled, update city manager Ben Berger.
Yeah, council, you have the staff reports included. Just want to people any questions on any of the items included in the staff report.
No, I appreciate those. They were very good meeting on an airplane.
Good. Just to keep it brief, maybe we can actually get out right still. I just like to give recognition where credit's due, and I'd like to always brag about the staff that we do have. We really do have a high quality staff. In the last several months, I've heard probably from about every single one of our department heads something amazing about them. We had a great meeting with the county. What was that called? The PIP?
Oh, yes.
So they had a department meeting with the police department, and they gave a proposal or a presentation where they provide one of the costs for that. So how many people in the county use this? the response was a Little Scout Booster really is the only represented or the best representative using that. In that program, that I would support people in our community to help. So,
What is that?
is it KIP, what does it stand for?
Yes, it's a Partners in Prevention. It's a system that's designed to help get youth who are in trouble, resources and mentorship before they go to the criminal and juvenile justice system.
Yeah, so that was really always great to hear that, we have a department that's really stepping up compared to their agencies, and that recognition, build those relationships. Had the same response about our public works department recently. They had an opportunity to participate in disaster preparedness for water with RDBO. They actually helped plan that. Did a lot of great work. He brought his department supervisor to that as well to the workshop they had. That's represented. I think actually Kelly Joe Smith, who was earlier mentioned, and some others mentioned, if there's ever disaster, they know where to go. Staff would do this. Correct. The agencies were very underrepresented at that workshop. So it was great to once again see that being represented. Glory's here as well, representing had a state, not a state or kind of a part of state, mentioning that just the quality and the caliber of our staff they have for their side is just, they haven't seen that across state work policies that work. They just really appreciated the work that they do and knowledge and the passion for the job. The finance director had a outside agency that was considering using us or seeing if they could partner with us for our financial services because of the work she does. And Susan. You're not alone, Susan, but actually had some great feedback from some of her peers in the Reporters Association that gave her a lot of great feedback about her peer work and the work that she does, her knowledge around working, participating.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of that organization. They're amazing.
Sweet Susan.
No.
And then
10.
and then Angie's not here as well either, but I heard was really good feedback from her. So it's just really good as a manager to be able to get that feedback from the community, from partners, from state agencies. And this one really at the council as well to confirm really just the amazing staff we do have. Yeah, no one's perfect, but they really do put a lot of heart and passion what they do. And I'm really grateful for all the work that they do for the city. And I will leave that.
Well, can I ask a question then?
Yeah.
I know it's been a while, but we attended Chief Allen, you and I attended, the Philip.
Yes.
Property. And that was a great session by Patty from the ED, the LLC, Data Cities. Can you give us a real quick recap on that? There was a great information on the topic of how can cities, obviously their cities are having issues, financial issues, counties and so forth. It was a great topic. So she brought up great ideas of what we should be looking at. And of course, she brought out the beautiful book that you gave us, I'll find it. Right, to consider, but just recap that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole meeting in Tillamook was really focused around those financial tools that they put together. And she did go over some preview of that and mentioning just how a lot of the cities, well, most of the cities in Oregon are experiencing some type of struggle in their general fund due to, and she went over the measures 5 and 55 and a lot of the history of Oregon led to that, and where a lot of cities have gone, as well as some of the tools that they have been implementing. She referenced the tool book, there's a lot in there, every city is a little bit different. And then she also got a lot of feedback, wanting to get feedback from the cities and communities to know how they can better advocate for us as we're looking towards working with the legislature to come up with ways to help with some of those measures or to accommodate those. So they're advocating going back for us to figure out how to fix or solve or amend or add to measure 5 and 55 to help some of our funding struggles beyond what is already provided in the book. We will be going over that. It's slotted right now for September to do a summary of that with Angie presenting, and depending what else gets on there, that is also on the in the near future for the council to have more of a summary of what that book entails and be more specific to our community of what tools we can maybe look at as we're looking at these cement parks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your staff report, but Community Director Lori Oliver Joseph, anything else to add?
No, just, again, thank you for, your feedback on the 50-year plan tonight. It is unfortunate that that there wasn't a vote taken, but I know that that was, central to the feedback you needed to hear. We certainly would have done that. So it's not over. We have time to get, the questions answered that you all need to hear, so that you have clear direction or can provide that to staff. So appreciate that feedback. We'll get it to you. Not sure if we decided on a date when you want to have your questions back to me. Today's the 18th, so I don't know if you feel like a week is enough time, or I would say by September 1st, which would give you 2 weeks. But if you feel like a week is enough, then that's great too. Would just give us time to start putting that together. There are some staff time off that last week of the month, so it's something I would work on after I get back. That would be perfectly fine.
Try to get them in sooner so you can start getting answers
Yeah.
from them, but.
That would be great. Yep. Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you. Chief Llewellyn.
Yes, good afternoon, good evening, Mayor and Councilors too as well. Just reference the public comment, I want to thank states for coming down in person to talk about that. And it should be really know that it was a formal investigation conducted that was given to Scourgener. So I appreciate the concern and just sharing that with us too as well. Take work on it. Nothing else really major. We have another officer that's going to be hired very shortly in September, Mr. Jacob Bernhardt. He's a local guy and after months of process will be joining us and your local officer in the police department. And last but not least, we only have 2 more Fridays for movies by moonlight. So come down and get your police patties, and that's all I have. And later follow, that's suspension. Blind colors. You did it. So
We were considering having some had competition with St. Helens though, because we're going with Team Jacob with the whole Twilight theme there.
That's good.
We got 3 over 4. That seems to be the.
that's
No, we're not going for that.
Besides that, what's your questions? Thank you all for your time.
I don't have any today. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Councilor Haugen.
Yes, quickly, the Scottsville School Board gave us the go-ahead for including a student representative for the coming school year. They should you should be a position, draft position. And if you have any suggestions, we need to get this in pretty damn quick. Because the school leadership starts next week. And so the recruitment, will probably take to select, assuming we get some candidates, and that might be a big assumption, because we're asking quite a bit. But take a look at that circular. Does everybody have that? Okay. So if you have any comments, maybe get them to Ben sooner than later, like sometime in the next couple of days. And I can coordinate with Ben. The only thing that Kim and I were talking about was whether or not we should require a teacher recommendation. So this was fashioned after the school board's recruitment for their student representative. So I just basically talked about it. But they don't require a teacher recommendation. As a former teacher, I'm kind of thinking that also kind of winnows it down. We might be down from 5 candidates to 2, with the teacher recommendation. So it's just another winnowing process.
And if you do that, is there a way that they can send the recommendation in separately so the kid doesn't see the recommendation and know it's been done? Like they would send it directly to Susan or someone.
Yeah.
And then we notify the student that yes, your recommendation is in, but that way the teacher doesn't have to get it.
Yeah. Oh, the question is, do we want to add that layer to it or not? Is it really necessary?
Maybe we do like letters of recommendation instead. I just worry a little bit about the teacher recommendation part. If that makes sense. I mean, I know it's kind of the same thing, but it is.
How about we count as one letter of recommendation, so it's not numerous activity.
And it's recommended. And if they don't put one in, then that's recommended, their recommendation.
Yeah, we can just put recommended, a letter of recommendation on some.
Email in.
Adult over age 18.
Let me answer it this way, as a teacher, you have been hesitant at all to recommend one student over the other.
As a teacher, I would give them a genuine recommendation, so, you know, and I would couch it, you know, and it's pertinent for that particular student, so it would be recommend one over another, it would just be particularly focused on that particular student.
They all go for their leadership teachers, and that she might
Yeah.
have 3 of them, that she might. One over the other.
Well, it wouldn't be big, right, but he or she would be big. So you probably have 2 facets there, so the LA teacher, and the leadership teacher, maybe the principal. But anyway, if, we don't have to have that, but you know, so, but take a look at this. If you have a concern or suggestion, you can get those in the next couple of days.
The only thing now is September 15th, we have scheduled council interviews. So looking at the date, including the regular meeting or the 5-minute interviews, I don't know how busy we are on that day.
Well, if we go during the work sessions, the interviews for, probably only have 2, possibly 3.
We'll know after, next week is the deadline, so we'll know how much time we have.
So we can adjust that. And then the only other thing to consider is in this draft here, I included meeting with either the city manager or investigator representative. So the students have an opportunity to ask questions before deciding whether or not they want to apply or
And then talk, like, are we gonna ask them questions in their 5-minute interview?
Right.
And we'll ask, like a normal one, we ask the same questions of all of them?
Yeah.
And make it quick.
Yeah. They'll suggest an interview question or like.
So kind of like this already, did you already attend like the assembly and ask if I were the class?
Well, I got approval from the school board, and that includes the high school principal, so that those are the key. So it's just an opportunity, it's not, no one's mandated to do anything. So if a student would like to apply, this opportunity, they can. And here are the parameters for it.
And I, who's asking the students, or are they asking like the leaderships, club, or it's like, I'm just.
Well, the likelihood is probably going to be on the leadership, it'll be open to every student, so no bias, or it'll be open to everybody. But the principal will give us announcements. Anybody that wants to apply is welcome to hear the conditions for it. And then, but it will likely come out of the leadership. Now, that's just a reality.
Would it help that, for our 2 council members go if people have questions at the school, or are they open?
Well, that's why we have to read this. You'll see that there'll be an opportunity for students to ask questions.
But at the time of the interview, not
Prior to the interview.
Prior to the interview.
So look through this, and it will specify in here that there'll be an opportunity, either for the city manager or a designated representative, to answer questions prior to that.
They'll email Susan and she'll send it to Joel or I, one of us, to answer their question if they have. Not the role.
But read through this and get comments to them.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilor Holmes.
Yes, thank you. So staff are all their working content, discussed this evening. I know it's a lot of work again. Look forward to continuing the discussion. More homework. So continuing on the discussion we had, with, the city manager assessment tool. Councilor Jacobs last meeting kind of captured the notes, and the key functional areas that each councilor and the mayor have identified that we would want reflected in the tool. I've gone ahead and begun to draft out a template for developing that tool. I sent it to the mayor, Councilor Jacobs, the city manager to look through. And I may have gotten feedback, but I haven't had a chance to check. I will get that feedback and send it to the city manager for distribution to the council members. I am asking for you all to work through basically what the worksheet will walk you through is underneath the key functional areas, say performance or budget and finance. Then we'd be asking for performance areas. What are the areas that we want to get feedback on? So identify the performance area and then draft a sample question of how we would ask staff and council to assess that performance area. So an opportunity to include the performance area, draft questions, and just kind of general feedback on the tool. So I would be looking for feedback to be sent to Councilor Jacobs and myself by September 2nd, so that we can further compile all of that feedback for consideration at the work session on September 19th. We can keep this process moving along and hopefully come out of that work session with a set of performance areas identified and a set of questions. Thank you.
Councilor Santiago?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but another thing that, I thought my notes, then, LLC is hiring a communication team to create a unified message strategy. I thought that was interesting. They're thinking they're gonna spend, what, 6 figures on that, that's, you know, or, statewide, that they're going to, because they asked for feedback, what is, your town, how do you get the word out? People were saying, oh, you know, newsletters and radios and so forth, giving a bunch of feedback on how their towns, how they get their, you know, story across or their message across. So because it's really important when we do implement changes or law ordinances, it's really important to educate, not to educate, but inform our constituents that this is gonna happen, not at the time, you know, so it's, they're gonna expend, I think it was like $100,000 on a unified, how to do that for the state of Oregon. And, but us individually, it's small cities, so, anyway, I don't know if you want to,
Yes.
go into that.
Quick follow on that, yeah, they did mention that, and really what they're trying to look at is, they realized when they did their surveys with companies working with that, the community, and we all know this, community at large doesn't quite understand how their taxes work, or the money actually goes. And so a lot of times when these ballot measures or fees go out, like people are like, oh, look what I'm already funding, they don't realize how small the piece actually comes to the city, or what their taxes are actually going to. So they're really trying to get an education campaign, looking for ideas that could be curtailed, that will help make some educational materials that we put on Facebook, or videos, or other things, as well as things that we distribute in the community that can help. Really, their goal is they want the whole state to better understand, all the residents to better understand how our taxes work. So if they do bring something to the state legislature, they will have a higher likelihood of being passed, because what they found out was the biggest issue they run into is just misinformation or uneducation about how the taxes actually work.
And I thought it was a great idea, just because we've been talking about it too.
Yeah, Jim, I didn't hear the first part of that. It was that League of Oregon Cities that's doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're the ones that are spending.
They're investing that money, yeah. It's that important. They've done that survey, city. So I thought that was a great meeting. I don't think it was recorded, fortunately. But,
Hey,
but anyways, I have Patty was presenting, and I'm sure she's more than happy to answer any questions you did. So that's it. Thank you for everything. Thank you for hard work. I did see in the report, Chief Allen, that the traffic incidents have been went up from a year ago, and I've been seeing a lot of accidents, you know, happening. More people, you know.
Yes, I don't know for sure. There's always different factors with the pyramid and, but I will consider probably most of it to just decrease traffic, people coming through or to Columbia County. So, but.
Yeah, so be careful out there, because, you know. I think
Our line is full, by the next meeting, school will have started, so
Yes.
keep that in mind. Council President Miller?
I don't really have much. I did attend my first board meeting as a 911 board member last month. I did have a conversation earlier today with the city manager about some of the ongoing concerns that I
y'all are well aware of, but I'm gonna wait until our next meeting on the 28th to try to get a better idea of if there's really gonna be progress. Because we had multiple meetings when Brian Bright was the interim director temporarily for about 4 or 5 months.
Yes.
At the 901 district, and Brian was being collaborative. We had like 4 meetings, chief, and
It's all here, and I think other locations here too.
yeah, so we had 4 meetings with those that are involved, included our chief, city manager, Sheriff Bixley, and Chief Richard from the fire district. And it felt positive, like we were actually gonna be making a good momentum and start actually getting things done. Then Brian left because he only was able to spend a short time with his family issues. He came back out of retirement to help out. But anyway, things have really slowed down, and I do have some concerns, but I do want to give the new director that just came in a chance to update us on what he may do to fix these issues that we continue to have. So after the 28th, or the city council meeting after the 28th, which is the date of our 911 board meeting, I'll give an update. And we might have some other things to bring to council to try to influence quicker change, because there's a lot of safety issues that are impacting the public and also our police department employees. That's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Just real quickly, remind you that school does start up by our next meeting, so drive carefully. Run with Neil, October 4th, Saturday. For more information, please go to www.runwithneil.org. It's several years now, it's been going great. We do have an open council position, deadline is August 25th. You got a week to apply. And I did want to congratulate Dick Bernhardt, since you announced that. I just kind of looking through this, you know, his long family history here. His mother was a mayor, so he must be good, right? Yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah, and his father was a city councilor. Yeah, so congratulations.
Had nothing reason with the hiring, so just.
And I coached him Little League, so Dick's a great kid, and appreciate again, everything, and with that, meeting adjourned.